Hi, everyone, and welcome to York Region Spotlight, a show dedicated to giving members of our community an opportunity to share their success stories and to discuss important issues. On today's show, it's all about stigmas and stereotypes surrounding mental illness, and we'll hear personal stories from members of our community. That's coming up right now on York Region Spotlight. Mental illness affects people of all ages, but when it affects a young person, this can pose several challenges on these individuals who often are stereotyped by society. Tonight, we are joined by a panel of youth who are trying to break down these barriers by sharing stories of how they live or are affected by mental illness. Joining me are Evan Mead, Alexandra Trottier, and Thelini Sivakreedam. They are here to tell us about their personal experience with mental illness. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
I got your name right. I did practice that a couple of times before the promo, but it's great to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Well, something that we do off the top of the show every time is I ask you to tell us about yourself. So, Evan, start us off.
Okay, well, I'm 22. I'm a independent filmmaker. I graduated from the Toronto Film School a year ago last month. So
Awesome.
life has been busy, but working my way up. So it's very fun.
Excellent.
Very rewarding too.
Cool. Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm 27, even though people think that I'm in high school still, but I am 27.
That's a good thing.
And it is. And I have a couple of degrees under my belt. I'm just finishing off psychology at York University.
Awesome.
And I also write a blog about mental illness and high school students.
Very cool. Thelini.
So my name is Thelini. Currently, I am a stressed out university student because I have a million exams and I literally can't think straight.
That's okay.
That's literally what I'm
feel
doing right
for
now.
I understand.
At least she's totally honest about it, right? Well, of course, our show tonight is about mental illness, and mostly with youth, which the four of us are. So I would really like to know what your connection is to this topic and why it's so important for you to talk about it.
Well, how my connection was you see, at the age of 5, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and I was told about it by my parents when I reached the age of 9. And when I was in elementary school, it was kind of an interesting experience to just, accept. But I learned to adapt it, and like anything that I was told would affect me, like socially or physically. Not so much physically, because Asperger's is more of a mental anomaly than it is a physical anomaly. But mainly, I was told a bunch of things about like the kind of person I would become. But in elementary school, I like shocked everyone, and people would always tell me like how smart I was, how like I passed all my classes and got every question I was asked correctly. I did struggle on a few things, but that's why I like had like educational support. And more or less, I didn't really understand like the barriers and what it meant to have Asperger's until I was like a teenager. And when I went to high school, it was an extremely like, I'm not gonna say it was bad because it did have some good moments, but I think for everyone, would you guys agree with me when you say that like, for every good experience in high school, there's like 5 bad ones too?
At least, yeah.
So I don't see my high school experience as all that different, but for the first 3 years, I think it was because I joined, for the sake of like managing schoolwork, I was in a special class with other kids with a diagnosis, and that was when like I really learned like how different I was from everyone. I didn't really make friends with like the general population of my school. That wasn't until like 3 years later when I got tired of seeing the same people and said, you know what, I gotta be social and I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I did whatever it took, and it was a really fun time. I made a lot of friends, and after high school, like I don't see it like as that different experience for me. Like we're gonna talk about stereotypes like later, but I'll get into that. But mainly, like, I still have friends from high school who I talk to today, and it took me an extra year to get like extra credits, but that wasn't because like I was a slow learner or anything. I just wanted to take the extra time, and I was very rewarding and had a lot of good experiences. But mainly, there were a lot of challenges, but I just overcame them all, and I pursued my passion with filmmaking, and now I can like show people my work, and it's really, really rewarding experience.
Very good. Alex.
For me, I've pretty much always had something, really anxiety. from a very young age. It's hard for me to remember a time where I wasn't anxious. I was an anxious child. It kind of just got worse through high school, for sure, university. In high school, the depression came on, so I also have depression as well. Technically, it's what they call in remission, which means I'm not showing any of the symptoms of it, but I always have to, do self-care, make sure that I'm doing what I need to do so that it doesn't come back. So it is still part of me, but the main focus for me that I've always had was generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD. And the way I kind of explain it to people is that let's say there's a range of anxiety between 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. Most people's base is about 0 to 2, whereas mostly for me, majority of the time, I'm kind of always at a 5. So I'm kind of always a little bit keyed up, and that makes it easier for my anxiety to get carried away.
Very interesting, actually.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. So
Delaney was staring at you like, really?
yeah. No, like I like the 0 to 10 way to describe it.
It's a good way to make it a bit more understanding for other people that don't necessarily have it. It just puts into perspective, so that's really cool. Delaney.
For me, it's more of anxiety. I didn't experience a lot of my anxiety until I got into high school, and I didn't notice how bad it got until I think I was graduating high school and just entering university. And when I got to university, that's when it just really hit me really bad, when I was just really anxious about exams especially. And I think that's that can be said for anybody, but for me, I could have studied for 2 weeks and I still would be shaking, and I'd constantly think that people were always judging me and looking at me, and I was just really anxious about what people were thinking and saying. And I think that comes with any young person growing up. But for me, I was just I remember a time when I just couldn't I had to look at the floor and just walk, because I felt very uneasy. And also in my family, I had parents that were going through depression as well, just from things in their life. And I don't know if that was a factor that keyed into my anxiety, but I definitely remember it was just one of those things that was there, and maybe it helped, maybe it didn't, I don't know.
Well, something that's interesting that the three of you have mentioned that we'll probably talk about in the next segment coming up, because we have a couple of seconds left, is that you each felt different things while you're experiencing this, and it really took place either in a school system or somewhere where there was some sort of pressure or judgment, like you were saying a couple seconds ago. So I'm curious to know more about that. So I think I'm going to start that up with the next segment, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Don't go anywhere. More with mental illness when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to your Christian Spotlight. Today's show is all about mental illness. I'm here with Evan, Alex, and Delaney, and so far we've gotten to know each of your stories a little bit better. So just to recap a little bit, Evan deals with Asperger's syndrome. Alex has suffered with depression in the past, and also she has GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder.
Nice.
Yes, I got it. And Delaney also has dealt with anxiety in her past, as well as she has different family members that have suffered with depression.